Ladies and gentlemen.
I want to know, can you find your mind?
Welcome to Love Your Brain.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Dave.
Hello, Dave. How are you doing today?
Am I really that bad?
I don't, dude. I tried. I tried to
You didn't
embrace your
introduce
intro.
yourself.
Well, let me do it now.
right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric, and I usually say hello, beautiful people, but Dave took that on this evening, so
Well, this evening's a little bit, everything's a little bit off this evening. So I figured what better way to start than to just throw that right in there.
yeah.
It's like starting up the stairs on your left foot first.
Yep. Yeah, I would say that the energy tonight is somewhat random and goofy, and I'm going to roll with it. Let's roll with it.
It's probably good considering what I've got in mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah. One of the things that's going on here tonight is that I've decided to not tell Eric what our topic is, so he doesn't have a chance to think about it first, so that we can really have a good open kind of discussion without, prepared, because it's really going to be about our own experiences anyways.
Cool. Makes me a little nervous, but I'm completely down for it. And honestly, I was rather surprised and happy when I talked to you on the phone the other night, because we were looking to have a guest this episode, and Dave was like, no, we got it covered. It's all set. And I'm like, this is great. This is perfect. So tonight we're just doing something a little different than we usually do, which honestly, I think the last couple episodes we've had have been that. So we're sticking with the theme of newness and uniqueness.
Well, I mean, for me personally, we here at Love Your Brain. Oh, but welcome to Love Your Brain.
See, that's why I need to open with
Yeah.
hello, beautiful people.
Well, this is why I threw a soft balance on purpose.
There you go.
So, we here at Love Your Brain don't actually have a written mission statement. So, one of the things as you're going on with the podcast is to start to consider the directions of where you go, because even though you've got a general direction, you run into new things, new information, and you find stuff that you really, really jumps out when you're talking about it or when you're into it, and other stuff that doesn't spark you as much, and it kind of moves things, and so. And then there's the thought of, do you want to just be one exact thing?
Yeah.
And
I think it limits creativity sometimes, and I just
don't see you and I talking about the same thing for more than about 10 minutes.
no.
So there's that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of built into it. It's a macro version of our
Love
regular
your brain,
conversations.
limitless conversation, tangential thinking, and unique conversation.
Yeah. So speaking of unique conversation, so here's what I was thinking about tonight was there's something I've been wanting to talk about, and I'm not even sure quite how I want to introduce it, but I think I've decided to call it the illusion of reality or the hallucination of reality.
All right.
Um,
As long as at first I was like, are we going to talk about landing on the moon? I'm glad that it's not that.
no, I would never do something like that to you.
And then I thought maybe it's going to be, arguments for and against the existence of a intelligent creator or God. That's where I thought we might go tonight. But
Well, we can change,
yeah, well, maybe that will play into the topic that you just brought up. So go ahead.
Well, I mean, here's where I want to start talking about it is that to just say first, reality is real. It's just not true. Okay. And I want to just take, for example, and say your sense of smell, right? Humans on average, our sense of smell isn't particularly great in the animal kingdom, right? You can think like the scent of a bloodhound, the scent, you know what I mean? A bloodhound sense of smell is, thousands upon thousands of times more precise than what we can smell. Right. So we can think how limited our sense of smell is, how limited our world is in that olfactory way. It's very, very limited. And then we could start to think about, if you look at the spectrum of known light.
Did you just see what I wrote down?
Yeah.
I just wrote down in my notes, visible light.
Yeah,
so he's already beaten me to the punch.
Yeah, you look at the spectrum of known light, all the way from infrared to ultraviolet. And within there is the human visual spectrum, which maybe takes up about half of it to 2/3.
A smaller percentage. Yeah, I mean.
Much smaller percentage.
Roy G. Biv, right? Would you say Roy G. Biv? Red, orange?
Oh, you mean RGB? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, if you really want to get into that, okay?
Well, I'm just getting into it.
Okay, so,
I mean,
no, I wouldn't say that. I would say that for computerized purposes, in display purposes of any sort, what is often happen is that additive light, okay? So light coming, let's say, directly from the sun or directly from that light right there over us is additive light, okay? It is coming through to, in order for us to control it, we must split it with a prism, okay? And if you take the basic visual properties that we display, red, green, and blue, when all combined together, create white additive light. That is only in the state that it is when it is still light. Okay? So that is display. That is something that's coming to your eyes from the light itself, which is different than, let's say, is that apple red? That apple is, in fact, everything but red.
I was just going to say, yeah, the colors that we see are actually the absence of that.
Right. So the light comes down, it reflects off the object, and it hits us in the eye. And it absorbs all of the colors that it is, and what it rejects is what hits us in the eye. And it's
so is this an accurate statement that I'm looking around us? So Dave and I are in a studio.
You didn't want me to get to CMYK yet.
We're in a studio. We're actually in GTV40 studio. Yeah. Shout out to GTV40 and all the staff. Thank you so much. You guys are great. And behind us is a green screen. So is this statement accurate? That is what I see is green, but it's actually not green.
That's everything but green.
It's everything but green. So that's kind of that's a profound thing to think about, that reality, visible reality, means that what you see is actually not what you perceive.
Well, what is happening there is that you're dealing with light and reflectivity.
I'm just trying to make a general
statement.
statement.
So, well, it's important because light and reflectivity does play a lot into visual differences. But no, that wasn't where I was going to go. What I was going to say is we're just looking at the spectrum of known light, okay? Mm-hmm. And without even taking into consideration darkness, because darkness is a thing, that whole wavelength, and we're going to take maybe 2/3 out of it. And it's really probably even less than that. Okay? Let's say we take 60% out.
Okay.
Okay? That's the visual spectrum for humans.
Right.
The rest we can't see.
That's right.
Okay, so
we have to
40% of what is out there we cannot
We
see.
can't perceive with our eyes, with our human brains.
Okay. Imagine, just based off our difference of smell between us and a bloodhound, what it is. It's a single digits, if that.
And so we shape our reality based on what we perceive. And if we're only perceiving a certain percentage of what's actually real, and we know it's real because we make instruments that measure.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wait a sec.
All right.
So yes, we could go through all of those systems. We could go through, the sense of balance,
Yep.
and, sense of touch, and all of and of course the shortcomings in each one of those. And my goal next was to talk about the brain itself, right? So the brain itself is this thing that's sitting there, right? It's got this giant network plugged into it, and every type of fluid is going and coming to it and from it. So there are chemicals going in there in the endocrine system. There's electrical charges in the nervous system. It's
Action
getting
potentials.
It's getting stuff from the eyes and the ears and the brain. All kinds of areas of the body are giving it input, and it's taking all that in, and it's saying, okay, wherever there's a gap, I'll fill it in, like they did in Jurassic Park with the frog DNA, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to give you my best guess of what that is, right? Because our brain always has to fill in some. We know that, right?
I've heard it referred to as we're cognitive misers. That's what I've heard it referred to.
How do you mean?
Well, basically that it explains how human beings are set up to interpret information, encode it, and then make sense of it. So it has to do with like your peripheral vision, where it fills in the blank spots, but it also has to do with, how you can look up at a cloud and see a bunny rabbit.
Right.
Or the greatest example I would say is that all you got to do is draw a circle, 2 dots and a half arc, and we see a smiley face.
Right. And that's a portion of what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about just the fact that the brain seeks patterns. Yes, absolutely.
And seeks to give it meaning and explain it. Yep.
Oh boy, you are jumping ahead right for me. You're walking me right down
I'm just
that
trying
alleyway.
to be a part of the conversation, brother.
Yeah, you are. You're jumping right down the alleyway I want you to go.
Well, I guess I'm doing good.
Well, no, because you just said that a
I'm
lot
not.
of this has to do with, and giving things meaning is very, very important here, right? But our sense of touch is very limited. Our sense of smell is very limited. Our sense of sight, our sense of balance. Then there are things that are very malleable, like our sense of right and wrong, our sense of judgment, our sense of trust, safety. All of those things go into helping us. We walk into a room, we look around, our eyes takes in what it can, our ears take in what they can, our other senses take in other things like relative safety, or do I know somebody, etc. Are there people in the room? There's a million things going in there, but
Personal experience too.
Personal experience is very big here, because when I say apple pie, you and I do not picture the same thing.
Nope.
We do not taste the same thing.
What do you picture? I have it. What's your apple pie? What do you picture?
Well, I picture an apple pie, of course.
So I picture a slice of apple pie with hard cheese and a scoop of vanilla ice cream.
I picture.
You know about the hard cheese deal?
Oh God, yeah.
That's some old school. That's some old
That's
school
my dad.
shit, bro.
That was my dad.
That's my grandfather.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna have some hard cheese with my apple pie. It's like mint jelly with his lamb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, had to throw that in there.
No, that's good. That's good, because those are all relative too. Mint jelly, geez, though. that's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Shout out to Grandpa Bolter.
I am totally derailed.
Ah, it's all right.
I don't
It's
remember
good
where
shit.
the hell
I
was.
remember where you were.
Good. Tell me.
So you were talking about how when you walk into a room, you use all your senses to interpret
And
reality.
one, consider
See, I did
what
that,
we've
people?
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
One, consider if we think about all of the areas, all of the senses we've talked about and how limited we know there are.
Mm-hmm.
One, consider how much is not getting to that brain.
Right.
Or is getting to that brain in ways that we don't yet understand.
Mm-hmm.
And two, like we said, personal experience is a huge one. Because apple pie and apple pie, like if you recently got sick on apple pie, you might not have made that, you might not have smiled, you know,
Right.
that, you know, you're kind of averse to a food after you get sick on it. And so, yeah, personal experience. I've got this, speaking of personal experience, I just took a sip and I'm like in the microphone because I've got this freaking mustache and I'm not trimming the thing and I'm starting, I mean, the beard too is getting down
Yeah.
there, but I've got this
Looks
like
good, dude.
David Crosby looking thing hanging over my face.
Yeah, you do. Oh, you definitely got the Crosby look.
Yeah, but I mean, it's connected to the beard, so I'm not.
I'm also sporting a mustache.
Yes.
What's my look? Fireman, police officer. What? Oh, what did you say earlier on the way over? Anyways,
I don't remember what I said on the way over. I do remember what I said one previous time.
yeah.
But no, I would say now you look like you're a 1980s baseball player.
That's great.
Yeah,
I like it.
You got that 1980s baseball player look.
I like it, man.
Yeah.
I'm rolling with it.
So, except for, you know, some of them would have it come down on the side.
Yeah, I tried. It looked a little weird. Made me look like I was frowning.
So, personal experience and all of those sensory inputs going to this brain, and the brain then takes that, and the personal history sculpts a lot of it, right?
I got
it
a lot
takes
to
those
say about
pieces
that,
and it
yeah.
puts together,
Yep.
and it comes up and it says, "This is what that room looks like to you."
Right.
Right, and that is your reality. But when in fact it is all generated, filled in the gaps, and quite honestly is a partial
Rendition
glimpse
of what real reality
that is run through a mirror house of personal experience that gives it bias.
Yeah, I mean, so the topic of personal experience has a lot comes up for me. I especially more in the realm of psychology, behavior, even spirituality. I was a shadow work coach for 2 years, and forget about that. Even just my work in Alcoholics Anonymous as a sponsor for many years. Personal experience. I realized a long time ago that, it's amazing how people will interpret a situation, forget about a room, but how about just like a situation, and give it so much meaning. And then a few years back when I attended Landmark was a game changer for me. One of the simple teachings is like, we're meaning making machines. I mean, that's literally what it means to be human, is that you're a meaning making machine, and that it's really important to have some sense of self-awareness and discernment around how and why you're interpreting certain things the way you are. And that's where the work I did as a shadow work coach really focused a lot on helping people decipher the narratives and the stories and the scripts that they constantly look through the lens of their reality. They look through the lens of their reality through those narratives, and interpret certain situations really based more on past experience than current presence.
Well, that entire all of that reality is that same kind of that experience is happening.
Yeah.
It's just that some are traumatic, of definitely, and of course get people stuck.
Myself included.
Yeah, well, me too. And as I'm sitting here and I'm talking about the fact that there is a reality out there, and probably entirely different things. I'm lacking the words here. There's stuff going on around us that we don't know how to detect yet.
Oh, completely.
Right.
Or
So-
we have to build machines to detect it.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever seen pictures of flowers using just UV, just the UV?
Yes, I have. Yeah. Or
And-
like what a bee sees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely different patterns.
Yep.
Amazingly different, like shapes, and like, it's like, here's the landing strip to the pollen. Come on down here.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Certain things glow.
Yeah.
Like, it's
And
unbelievable.
consider that there's a whole world. Like, I mean, we're still kind of wondering how birds migrate.
Mhm.
That most of the ocean we do not understand. But the fact is that our own mind, which makes up this reality based on this series of sensory inputs, that
Personal
this
experience.
personal experience, and of course emotional overlay, that we often will, depending on the person, they'll follow logic or emotion.
Oof,
But-
that's one of the topics I wrote down. Yep.
What'd you write down?
I wrote down feelings aren't facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that
But they
I
drive
mean
people.
myself. I'm gonna, I could talk about all these other people and say, people that, perceive their reality on their feelings, live F lives, and it's like, well, I live an F life a lot of the time because I do that.
Well, here's the thing. Feelings and emotions are very strong, but when they take the next step, and we take the next step and go into action with them, that's the area where we can actually stop things, from, for example, in trauma. But it's also where we start to, quote unquote, manifest reality.
Right.
Well, that prior to that, there has been no other interaction with the world. It's all done taking place inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you interact with the reality, then, or
You-
the
they-
reality that we,
That's how you manifest your reality is that whole process. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to feelings for me over the years, I've really like poo-pooed feelings. I've said certain things, and I'm sure if Peggy's listening to this, she'll chuckle or smile. I would speak so
Hi, Peggy.
I would speak so down about feelings and call them these lower vibrational human things, because
Okay, Spock.
yeah, exactly. And really what I've come to realize is that I've struggled my whole life with knowing what to do with them. And so with not knowing what to do with them, I condemn them, right? Or if I think I'm not good at handling them, then they suck and they're lower vibrational. But in all reality, the point that I'm trying to get to is that in recent years, especially this past year, I've realized that like feelings are actually huge informants about my reality.
Yeah.
And I do not poo-poo feelings anymore. I try to let them inform me and at the same time make sure that they don't consume me. And that's a difficult process.
Well, to throw something in here, one of the ways that you can, because of course feelings exist, but they do not actually have to control you in any way, shape, or form. And one of the best things about meditation is that through long-term meditation, you can start to be able to see and identify what are the positive and the negative mind states that you get into with feelings. And I want to talk about the mind state more than the feeling. The feeling comes, it goes, it's, the emotions happen, but the mind state that then you then follow, and we begin to see the negative ones that haven't, worked so well for us. And then we begin to see the more positive things that we know, and we start to be able to bring that forward into our life and say, yeah. And it's one way to actually help motivate that stuff in you, because you with constructive meditation, you begin to see that stuff. We identify less with the negative ones and more with the positive ones.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think meditation is a practice that needs practice, but it's also stupidly simple. And really, if I were to just like sum the major impact of meditation for me is I slow myself down. I don't even realize how fast I'm going until I realize how fast I'm going, until I just focus on breath and my focus is just on that. And then it's like, whoa, my mind is racing. I wasn't even aware that my mind was racing until I was aware that my mind was racing. So there's this whole mechanism of
there's a lot of different types of meditations too. So
you
probably add that there to say,
for me, my style, and you can label it however, I don't know. There's probably
that part doesn't matter. I just want to let people know there are
many different types of my meditation practice is really just focusing on breath, because I have such a busy, chattering monkey, itty bitty shitty committee going on upstairs, man, that focusing on breathing kind of like quiets that shit down, at least for a moment. That's the most effective meditation for me.
That is one of the ones I use.
And you know what it does? It brings a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah. Yeah, because after you've slowed down and you continue to focus on your breath and you don't follow the thoughts, then you'll be able to see the thoughts, and you can see how they're constructed, where they're coming from.
It's almost like taking the power back, because once you can see where they're coming from and you allow yourself, or I allow myself, to see them as a separate entity from me, right? Then I'm not as attached to them. And I think when it comes to thoughts and even feelings to a degree, thoughts, let's just talk thoughts. I'm still working on my whole concept of feelings, but when it comes to thoughts, the more I see them as just what the brain does or what the mind produces, that's what a mind does. They lose the meaning that I give them. They are the meaning of my reality when I'm completely attached to them and I believe that they are me.
Mind is a pretty powerful thing. It does way more than just create thoughts. But which I think is what we're saying here. Because in fact, it creates, our whole reality. But when you were talking about how you saw this stuff in meditation, I see it as I'm actually kind of floating above, if you would imagine, kind of a space backdrop. And I'm floating above a river of pictures and symbols and text. So each one of them being an experience or a thought or an emotion. And that's how, and I'm floating over them, watching them. I'm inspecting them that way.
So that's a great visual. The one that was taught to me, I don't remember by who, but it was allowing you to picture yourself in a crowd or in a theater, and your thoughts just go up on stage. They have their moment and then they walk off. And you grab that cane. Remember the old cane that would drag people off if they. Speaking of canes, Dave has one. But that was the visual, the metaphorical visual that was given to me, and
I didn't. This is just how I see it. Nobody told me to.
Oh, well, there you go.
This is just how I see it.
Yep, I like it, dude. The river. It's very Buddhist.
Well, yeah. I mean, time is a river.
Yeah.
Time is a fabric. So
yeah. Even time, man. The way that the reality of time for some people, that's trippy.
Yeah. Especially in, as we all know, extreme, circumstances, near-death experiences and stuff. Time warp is very easy to see.
Or it could be as simple as time seeming to go slow, time seeming to go fast. One of the jobs that I thought was going to be the greatest job of my life was being a lifeguard. And I realized that with my ADHD brain, that wasn't the best job because time slowed down so much that all I could do was twirl my whistle for an 8-hour shift. You know what I mean? And then when is time fast for me? Man, when I'm having a good time, why is that? Like, that sucks.
Years ago, I wrote this article.
I don't like that, man. So time slows down when you're having when stuff is not cool, and then when stuff's wicked cool, it speeds up.
I have a theory that it's based on how engaged your ego is in the moment.
How engaged your ego is.
If you consider the fact that your ego is highly engaged when you're sitting there twiddling your whistle, but when you're having the best time and you completely lose yourself and you no longer are focused in the direction of the me and you're kind of focused out in the other direction, I think it makes a great deal of difference to time and how quickly it passes and how quickly we experience it because you're in the moment through all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore you're not really experiencing, you're not actively chronicling time, you're actively present throughout it.
So presence equals the perception of time going by quicker. That's interesting.
You know, I'm making this up on my own, right?
So no, I know.
But the way I see it is that, if you're sitting there on how bored you are, you're watching time. You're literally chronicling it. You're consciously chronicling time as it's going by, or when you're miserable and you don't want to be somewhere, and you're very actively engaged with your ego, with your me. And then in the other direction, when you're engaged, like, for example, playing music, right?
There is no time, man.
Right, exactly. It just goes
Even
away.
though I have to keep time, there is no time.
Yeah, well, that's but that's what I'm saying is, like, it seems to me that it's very directly related that the more you're living in the moment and you're less engaged with your ego, the less you're chronicling time. Why it goes faster that way, I don't know,
yeah.
but I noticed the correlation.
There's something there. I do too. That's why I brought it up. I do too. It's interesting. Maybe the way that the brain interprets lack of time is that it went by quick. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's like even when time doesn't exist, the brain has to make sense of it. So it goes, you know what? That was really fast, but when in all reality, it wasn't. But I think that really brings up something for me, which is, our realities tend to be based on what it is that we focus on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we reinforce a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the simple
by habitual behavior.
Well, it's the simple cliche explanation from a lot of different people in similar ways that it's like, if you focus on all the negative shit, well, man, that's all you can see.
Yeah.
And also the opposite is true too. The more you focus on what's good in life, and for me, the art of gratitude has always been the way to pull me out of that, melancholy perspective of life. And it doesn't come natural, dude. It doesn't come natural.
I was going to say, as a card-carrying pessimist over here, it's really hard to do that. People, obviously for my whole life, I've had this kind of pessimistic bent of, which not for everything, but anyways, there more than enough so that throughout my life, I've had people telling me that, you got to look more positively, and I'm like, this is not a thing that I just do. Like, it doesn't happen naturally for me. I got to work hard at it. doesn't feel normal.
Me too, bro.
You know, it doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah, it's not my default.
Right. I used to say I used to argue the point that, I will look at everything and look at the pluses and minuses. And essentially, let's say I'm looking for a job and I'm hoping I'm going to get the job. I will look at it and then I will basically convince myself that I had a shot, but it went to somebody better, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that reason is so that when I didn't get it, I wouldn't let myself down.
Mm.
Right? That I didn't want to feel the crash, that other level of suffering that comes from going up so high and having to come back down to a homeostatic position emotionally.
Yep.
And of course, it's just, that was how I would argue it, is that, for me, I like to look at all sides of it. And sometimes there are negative things that should be acknowledged that people who are too positive refuse to think about.
Listen, it's about balance, and I think that it's cool that I'm gonna bring into topic one of the things that Dave and I were talking on the way over, which is wolf packs and wolf behavior and the hierarchy of the traditional hierarchy of what was studied amongst wolves with alpha and beta and all this other stuff, and how a lot of those studies are very flawed. Why are they flawed? You said it.
I believe the studies were performed on wolves that were in captivity. And so they were under situations where, they didn't have to hunt for their food and things like that. And so they were completely abnormal behavior for normal wolves in, living out in the wild. So it's a completely flawed study. I believe that's it. And if I got that wrong, write in and we'll answer it in our guest mail.
Guest mail.
Yeah.
You'd give them that address.
www.cut.com.
I almost lost my train of thought, and I'm almost losing my train of thought, but then it all came back. Something I've been practicing many years now. ADHD is a real thing. What I found is that what's most effective for me is surrounding myself with people that have a different perspective and have a lot of strengths where maybe I fall a little short, and vice versa. So what came to mind was the wolf pack, and how a wolf pack, everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses, and that's how they make it work. And I think about some of the greatest teams that I've been a part of. Those are the realities for me that work best when I surround myself with other people. You included someone who we do not think or perceive the world similar in a lot of ways, yet in conversation and when we're in support of one another in friendship, holy shit, it's like you balance me out. I think about my business partner. He's got he's got his own personal experience that dictates a lot of the meaning making stuff that he has. And I'm like this almost naive, positive, everything's going to be awesome type of perspective. And my business partner, Dan, hey, Dan, he's got this very, I don't want to say paranoid, but he does have a little bit of like this very strong fear-based paranoia of certain aspects. The two of us together is perfect. It's perfect because he's seeing the stuff that I'm not even paying attention to. And I'm bringing kind of that more positive influence. He does that as well. But in terms of like business, it's really important that I have someone like that on my side, because without that, I just wouldn't see everything, So I think that the way, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, one of the great things about being a human is that we can make our realities awesome when we share our realities with other people that balance our realities out where we have a lot of weaknesses.
Well, that is one of the wonderful things when you start to realize that reality is not this thing that is as solid as we tend to lull ourselves into believing, and that there is quite a bit more to it, and that you can completely change things. And you know, sitting here talking to you about this stuff would not have happened, if a lot of things hadn't changed in my life. I would have been doing something completely different, and now here we are, we're discussing this, we're discussing, some of this. Oh God, I was just trying to think back to all the
other episodes,
previous episodes, and I completely drew a blank. I know we did a 3-part addiction.
We talked about a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's one on atheism.
Yeah.
And, but in atheism right there, there's I would be on the side of, describing how all you need is a circle, 2 dots, and a line, and see a face. The human mind is trained to look for patterns, fill in the blanks, and create a reality. And I often feel as though that there is a need with the randomness of life.
Here we go. Here we're getting
with
to
the
it.
randomness
All
of
right.
life.
We're gonna
is
hit
that
it.
at some point there is an internal need to have something to make it all make sense.
Yeah. Wow. We made it here. I was wondering if we get here.
Well, you tried taking the shortcut earlier.
I know.
I'm like, dude, you're getting off at the wrong exit.
Here we are. Here we are. Yeah. I mean, I get it. A lot of people have argued about religion as being the opiate for the masses. The belief in God is just a safety net to catch all our fears, to give us some sense of purpose and all that. Yeah.
I just want to say,
Yep.
I believe very strongly in living spiritually. So we can go on with the rest of the conversation, but
True.
I don't want to make sure
Touché.
that's something that, we can get to that part, but I just want to throw that in.
No,
there. So,
that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. Very, very valid and valued. Valid and valued.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing. I know that meditation and prayer, and it does not have to be petitioning to a deity type of prayer, brings about positive mental states and does help clear your thinking and things of that nature. Now, it does good for you. It's good for your circulation and your heart and all kinds of stuff. It's good for you. And many good things come out of it. Does that mean that I should assign all those things to a God or not? I don't see the evidence for that, so I just stop there.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that the spiritual part I know to be important.
Yeah, right. You don't have to be a God fearing or believing. That's a funny Christian thing. Even though I am, a follower of the teachings of Jesus. Jesus is my dude. But
Big carpenter.
Yep, great carpenter. You don't have to have that part of your life to be a spiritual person, and that's, I like that. I mean, it's also how you define what spirituality is. It's so funny to me when I talk to people and oh, what do you know? I'm kind of a spiritual guy. Oh, you're religious? What church do you go? It's like, why did you jump to that? Like, religion. Some of the most non-spiritual people I know are actually very, hardcore religious. But
yeah, and there are some people who just obviously exude spirit and they're atheistic, and it's, there's an undoubtedly one of those areas that we can't quite measure yet, but we can kind of detect it.
Yeah. My relationship with God is based on part of the DNA of me, which is that I see patterns, I see synchronicities, and yes, I give them meaning, and I actually choose that to be my reality. And that strengthens my relationship with God. So there's that. But then there's a part of me that actually thinks that, whether you want to call it God or a creative intelligence or the master of the universe, whatever, source, there's so many different ways to describe that, that it's actually practical. It's logical and practical to see that, Dave's face right now.
My back.
Oh, really?
That's what that
was. That a synchronicity?
Yeah,
You all right, bro?
I moved and my back did something unhappy.
Well, it was right at the time that I was making the point for God.
Sorry,
and like
dude.
Dave's face was just like, oh, and I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, that's Dave.
I'm sorry, dude. That was not at all.
All right. The timing was perfect. But back to the difference between, the magical thinking, Eric, which I appreciate and embrace because I do live in a magical world. You know that. I've shared so many stories of synchronicity.
Well, you just said you're seeing patterns.
I see patterns.
I too used to see patterns, but I stopped dropping acid. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
interrupted. Go
okay.
ahead.
So there's that aspect of me, that magical, I choose that magical reality part. And then there's this other aspect of how I interpret a good argument for the existence of God or all those other things you can call it, which is there's never been a time ever where something came from nothing. And if there is a painting, then there must have been a painter.
Well,
If there is a building, there must have been an architect. What
do you mean by nothing?
Nothing, what I mean by nothing is that for something to exist, it has to come from something.
Yeah,
And
but even at a subatomic level, there is this quantum foam. There is no such thing as nothing.
Right. I agree with you.
So my point being is,
Where did all this come from then? I guess if you take a microcosmic perspective, and the best microcosmic perspective is the human experience, is that we create things, right? We've invented a new form of potential consciousness called AI. If something comes into existence from a creator, then how the hell did we come into existence? And that's the point. That's the simple argument for me, is that how could something exist, as in all of this existence, without there being a creator? Because you can't have a painting without a painter. Yeah, I mean, I don't have to continue my loop of
no, I mean, I could break it all down in the opposite direction.
That's
down
great.
to-
I know you can.
down to base elements, in carbon and certain,
It's still
but
yep.
my point being
Yep.
is that I get what you're saying,
Right on.
but there is no nothing. Therefore, there is the ultimate potential for all of those base elements that exist, that we know of in physics, to come together and create new things ultimately. And some of that stuff happens quite simply because there's a buildup of enough gases in an environment that something switches over. You've got another rock that floats by and gets locked in an orbit because of your gravitational pull. That requires some of that liquid to start to move back and forth because it's tidally locked. And that is this little stirring pot. And that starts to mix up some more of those chemicals. And it's kind of like a late night disco, chemicals moving back and forth against each other. Oh, somebody has some algae. And so my point being is that
It'd be cool to put a visual with all that
I'm glad
description,
it's not
like a
being filmed.
cartoon visual of Dave's description of how everything came into existence.
Well, in a way that really is how Earth came into existence.
I don't buy it.
Okay.
No. I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I think it's more logical that there is there's a creative intelligence behind it all. That is a part of how the creative intelligence creates. But, if you peel back all the layers of the onion of existence, there's still got to be a starting point. to me, what you're talking about is not a starting point. It's actually many levels above the starting point.
I'd like to try and, as we're running out of time, do a tree for the forest kind of thing. But which is to say, if it weren't for the fact of consciousness enough to wonder if there is a creator, do you think such a thing would still exist?
What? Okay. My mind just, you hurt, my mind hurt right there. You punched me in the mind balls, dude. I'm like, wait, what? Mind balls?
Mind balls.
I just came up with that.
I don't think I can go on.
And that, my friends, is another episode of Love Your Brain.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. And until next time. Oh, wrong setting.
That's better. Thanks for listening, and until next time, don't forget to love your brain.